Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iori Folari. Of course, it's May Day. It's the only thing on all the news channels, and indeed, no less so ours as well. You're going to be hearing about May Day right through the day. With that in mind, I thought that we might take a slight, slightly oblique angle to it. Of course, happy labor relations is what is desired all over the world, and we might even touch on that. But you've got to have governance, a stable administration, before you can do a lot of other stuff. And also, of course, it goes with it, you've got to be able to take care of corruption, handle corruption, and then all the rest will follow. We've been told that without that, very, very little can get done. In that context, we're looking at the ongoing saga between the presidency and the National Assembly. A major newspaper this morning, The Punch, says that according to its sources, the Senate is actually planning a fresh showdown with the presidency over the whole Magu affair. Senate does not want Magu, who is a main, warrior in the anti-corruption war. They want the president to submit someone else, and the presidency is adamant for now. So Magu continues in an acting capacity. Well, my guest is Barrister Monday Onyekachi Ubani. He's a lawyer of note. He's also a commentator on public affairs, as well as an analyst, political analyst. Thank you very much for coming on, Onyekachi.
Thank you.
I know that you also have been very vocal on this anti-corruption war, as well as that of good governance. The allegation by one of the papers that it's not over yet. The whole rancor between the presidency and the National Assembly, especially the Senate, is not over yet, and there might be more in the offing. This is dragging on too long. How long are we going to be able to do this for? And by the way, as a lawyer, could you comment on the whole idea of, well, if the Senate won't confirm Magu, and if the presidency wants Magu to continue his work, then he can continue in an acting capacity. The Senate is livid about this, but what do you think?
Well, I thought there was a time the presidency set up a committee that will liaise with the members of the National Assembly.
Yes, that, in spite of that, that is ongoing.
Yeah, in order to reach what you call an amicable settlement. I am one of those who do not advocate a rubber stamp house. I believe that the House should, at any point in time, in any serious democracy, checkmate what the executive does.
Yes.
Especially if the executive is tending towards dictatorial tendencies, you must checkmate them. But where the issue of national interest is involved, they all bury their differences in order to ensure that the national interest is protected.
Yeah.
You must also examine the limit of exercise of your power, especially when there is a conflict between those limits, your powers, and that of the people you are supposed to govern. So my take in all this is that I don't know whether the political elite actually feel the moral burden that is entrusted on them, especially when they were campaigning in 2015, asking for people's vote and made all those beautiful promises, to Nigerians. And now you have gotten the power. How are you exercising this power? Are you exercising this power in favor of the people? Are they happy with you so far? And I don't think Nigerians are happy. Indeed. Especially with the Legislative Assembly. If there is any referendum today conducted, I tell you that Nigerians will vote for possibly having one Legislative Assembly. Chambers, instead of having two. Because of the output is not commensurate to what we are paying.
Indeed.
The cost.
And perhaps most importantly, and excellent the way you put it, because that's what we're taught even from school, there must be checks and balances. We can't allow anybody to be the overlord. Right. That's right. But that does not mean to most of us that then one of the arms, pillars of democratic government, shall become that which Nigerians are beginning, some Nigerians at least, are beginning to see as obstructionism. From any one arm, be it the judiciary, be it the executive, or be it the National Assembly. They only the Lord knows what they really have against the presidency's wish, although I can take a guess at what they have against the presidency's wish.
Of course, you know that the person that we're talking about is Magu. There were some mistakes.
The acting chairman.
Yes, there were some mistakes that the executive made, you know, in matters of Magu. They played into the hands of the National Assembly members, or I mean the Senate, you know, in particular. Now, if you know that this man has, you know, some level of competence, and he is serious in the fight against corruption, you shouldn't have kept him in an acting capacity for too long, because in that acting capacity, he showed his true color, that is out to fight, you know, corruption, irrespective of any person or status. And so most of the members in the Senate were being investigated by Magu, and he did not care. He didn't care a huge, you know, whether you were a member of the Senate that would confirm his position as substantive chairman. He went along investigating most of them, asking them for an account. Now, for putting him in that capacity for too long, you exposed him. Then secondly, when
you're implying that if the presidency had forwarded the matter earlier,
and then
we might have
yes, because by the time you kept in that capacity, and the man was actually performing, and most of them became subject of his investigation. They felt that this guy, if you confirm him, you are arming your enemy. You know, so there is this slang in Igbo land that you don't walk and allow Obuisi, somebody who calls the head, to walk behind you. And Obuisi, somebody, he has a very sharp knife. And you are walking and allowing him to, to walk behind you. So, that is actually what is good. And then secondly, you now even contradicted yourself, in sending an adverse report, from an agency that is under executive, concerning the same man you have nominated for confirmation by the Senate. So they were looking for any slightest, evidence.
And that is it. Looking for, with a microscope.
A microscope. And they got it. And they got it. And they got it. And they told you that this man has, issue with the security report. So you made it very impossible for the man actually to pass through the eye of the needle. Now, having done, said this, the presidency now suddenly realized that there is a provision of the Constitution they can rely upon, and that is Section 171. And if you remember that this issue of EFCC, they were not created when 1999 Constitution came into being, sir. And so EFCC was not mentioned in that particular section. But the law that created the powers of the chairman says that he must be confirmed by the Senate. Now, this is not the first time that the Senate has confirmed the substantive chairman of EFCC. All other persons that were appointed during our democratic experience, we are passed through the process of confirmation by the Senate. That even you yourself, the presidency, the current presidency, submitted Magu's name once, he was rejected. Second, then suddenly you now realize that there is one section, 171 of the Constitution. So, which means you didn't know about that section before. So, you cannot approbate. You cannot approbate and reprobate. Well, you have submitted his name, meaning that you believe the confirmatory powers of the Senate must be exercised. So, how come suddenly you now realize that, that section is in existence? This is not now
speaking, well, it's not an ideal...
I'm coming now, sir. I'm not speaking in favor, because if there is any candidate that want to head EFCC, it is Magu. Because if there is any man that has shown competence, if there is any man that has, shown that while in public service, your personal interest should be subsumed under national interest. The man has shown it. There is some level of competence, and if you go out and ask Nigerians today, 90% of Nigerians will want Magu to be the substantive chairman of EFCC, because he has taken this fight, as a fight, a national fight, and he's doing well.
And the president, the vice president has said that there will be no substitution.
So in the light of this, sir, I think when there is any disagreement like this between two arms of government, there is a third arm that does interpret the law, because as of now there is confusion as to proper interpretation or proper act that should guide the confirmation of the substantive chairman of EFCC, whether it's the EFCC Act or the Constitution that should come into play. So I think that the proper thing is to take it to the Judiciary for a proper interpretation. And they have a right as government agency to take it straight to the Supreme Court. And it won't take time. They will give it as a letter hearing, and they make a judgment, and then all of us will not have an issue. But I do not subscribe to threat of non-confirmation of the executive nominees. That is not right.
Well,
because you are elected to perform your constitutional duty. You are the representatives of the people.
So
if you're having an agreement, a disagreement with an arm of government, you should not bring the instrument of government down because of disagreement. So rather, there is a way out.
So it becomes a matter of how much of a stakeholder are the different parties to this whole democratic process. I've got to go on a break now. We'll come back and we'll continue. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. We'll include your calls. Welcome back. It's May 1st, Labor Day, and we're looking at an oblique angle to the whole thing. If you don't fix corruption, then very little else, can actually get done. There was a time when my guest, Barrister Monday Yonkechi Ubani, still in the House, there was a time when Labor, NLC itself, and other interest groups could be depended upon not to stand for the situation we have in the country now. In fact, there have been claims that the society has become so docile. The things that would have outraged activists of yore, maybe 20, 30 years ago, now nobody seems to bat an eyelid. Salaries are not being paid by some governments to their workers, ghost workers all over the place, corrupt employment tendencies and all of that. What has happened? Because this is, we're talking about it. It's an aspect of corruption, I imagine. The MBA, your MBA itself, there was a time it could be depended upon to join ranks with other people to say enough of this whole matter. But nothing like that is happening.
Everyone is in state of stupor and docility.
What caused it? Is it money? Is it careless money all over the place?
The point is that they have impoverished, majority of Nigerians. Because if you have money, you have a voice. So they have taken the voice away.
But the activists of yore didn't have money. Yes. They just had the integrity, their conscience.
Yeah. How many have that integrity and conscience you are talking about intact? The level of poverty also has made even the so-called activists. A lot of them now are activists of their tummy, of the stomach, infrastructure. Of the
stomach infrastructure.
So that is actually what is going on. You hardly see men of conscience, the Ghanese of this world. You hardly see men who stand for truth. You hardly see men who sees that government must be held accountable, irrespective of, you are not looking for anything from anyone. You are contented. But you must speak the truth at all times. Even if the government is support and the government is deviating from the known principle, you have a right to speak and say, this is not what we elected you for. This is not what we voted you for. And that brings me back again to the Senate. Now, Dogara, the other day, the speaker, was saying that he has a moral burden, that he hardly sleeps, that every day he wakes up, he remembers the burden, moral burden upon him. The mandate that the Nigerians have given him, and he says, God, help us to actualize the dream of these people. I don't know how many of them in the Senate have such a moral burden to actually. Because if you do, you know that the history is there to judge you. You will be interested in, giving good governance. You should be threatening the executive with, this childish threat. If you feel wounded in your spirit that the executive has done something that is fundamentally wrong, you go to the judiciary.
Exactly.
Let there be an interpretation to this particular. We feel strongly that we need to confirm the substantive chairman of EFCs in accordance with the law. But the executive is thinking otherwise. So please, judiciary, can you give us a proper interpretation so that you can move forward? But it cannot, because of the fact that the presidency now is having an issue with you or the executive, you now say, I will to hold, other duties like passing of the budget, like nominees that are supposed to be cleared. Because what is the moral burden you are carrying? What is the responsibility you are
Thank you.
What are you showing?
Thank you, Onyekachi, because that is like, this negates the whole what you lawyers refer to as intendment of the arrangement. That, look, there shall be a separation of powers just so that nobody goes crazy.
That's right.
There's always someone else to check him.
I agree
but the way it's being put into use now, the powers of the National Assembly in particular, most Nigerians would say it leaves a lot to desire. Now, let's just look at their side of the coin for the moment. They say, give us anyone else. He might be luckier, but not Magu.
Now, the executive has a right of nomination. We must get that right. and they have a right of confirmation. It's a constitutional duty. Now, the executive is feeling very strong that this candidate of ours, we feel very confident. We have a mission, we have a vision, and we feel that we can accomplish that vision and mission through this man. It's not as if he's the only person, but you have not in any way justified your refusal. The reason why you are refusing him. We are feeling that you are refusing him because of the fact that he's investigating some of you. And we are right in saying that. But majority of Nigerians also are having confidence on this man because what he has done so far has actually shown us that he can really help the government fight this particular fight, and that is the anti-corruption fight. So that confidence is reposed on him. So I'm saying that in the light of this conflict, where the House feels, we have a rule. If 2 times we reject a candidate, you don't bring that candidate back to us. So in the light of the fact that the presidency cannot bring, the executive cannot bring, this candidate back, we need to interpret this particular section that the presidency or the executive is relying upon to actually get the correct interpretation. Or don't they have confidence again in judiciary? I think the best thing, we won't take time. Supreme Court will give it a accelerated hearing and make a pronouncement, this is right. Executive, you are right. Or legislative you are right. And at the end, we now know, what we move forward. But I'm saying that they should not stop their work based upon the fact that they're having disagreement over a candidate. No, it shouldn't at all. Because they're elected for a purpose. They're representing us. They're not representing the executive. If you are withholding nomination of the executive, you are doing that injury to the national interest and to the people that elected you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abubakar in Kebbi State, good morning to you.
Hello. Good morning, Mr. Ori.
Good morning, sir.
I'm very happy today to have got to you. I have been trying all over.
We're delighted you reached us.
Yes, I'm a first-time caller today.
Yes. Welcome on board.
Yes. I just called you to congratulate you for having Mr. Obani because he's talking like a Nigerian today. He is not doing his usual style. I listen to this program almost on a daily basis.
Oh, thank you.
I used to see the way he acts on several issues. So I'm congratulating you today. I'm congratulating him also for behaving like a Nigerian. He's a true Nigerian today.
Thank you very much. Now, Abubakar, what do you think about, shall we say, the disturbance in the war against corruption as seen by some through the non-confirmation of Magu?
I'm telling you, Mr. Obani has said it all. And his percentage is even lower than my expectation. He said, if you go out for a referendum today, over 90% of Nigerians will say this. I'm saying 99% will endorse Magu. I'm telling you, nobody has done it better than Magu.
Okay.
And I think in the near future, nobody can do it. And so we should give that guy a chance, no matter what.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Appreciate your call, Mr. Abubakar from Kebbi State. So back to the point about the interest groups that ordinarily, now you have citizens on Facebook trying to organize themselves to go to the National Assembly, because those who traditionally filled those spots, the
like
National Association of Nigerian Students, NLC, NBA, you can just think of other powerful unions. Now, you see all those union leaders, they're now driving around in 8-cylinder, Jeeps, and nobody's saying that everybody should not advance. But it looks like you don't know a difference nowadays between a comrade and a bourgeois. Absolutely no difference. So how long is this going to go on for before, God forbid, something breaks?
How long will it go on? I don't think it's good for us as a nation.
Let me bring Reverend Dominic in. Okay. Good morning, Reverend Dominic from Alimo Show.
Good morning, Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, Barrister. How are you?
Yes, Reverend. By now you should graduate to bishop.
Yori, let me answer a question quickly.
Yeah.
Both Barrister there and myself, since almost 30 years now, we have been sounding like a broken pot. And myself, I'm tired. When Buhari came on board, I convinced a lot of our friends, in civil society to support him. Let's see if we can fight this corruption. Not because we need an amnesty man, but the one who can fight corruption. But you see where we are today. Number two, every day here we are treating symptoms. One thing is sickness. As long as Sariki is sitting as a Senate president, this government will not move forward. Now, they were protesting that Babacha, whom they call the grass cutter, must go away because he was accused. But the man was saying who was accused, and now it's just an allegation. But this president goes to court every week, standing a trial, a criminal case. How could a man standing a criminal case anywhere in the world preside over snakes? Where is moral burden? Where is the even legal burden? How could that man who is standing a legal trial now want somebody who is accused to be removed? Now the president has done the needful. Will senior president excuse us to see if we can move forward for crying out loud? As long as Sariki is there, nothing will work. Number two, the young men you want them to protest today are the students. They are using BlackBerry. They are using Android. Me and the Presidency, we are using express books. And this one, they go to governor, they give them BlackBerry, they give them Android, they give them money. There's no more student union. Labour has done the work. Nigeria is in Lagos. Dorabora is in Abuja. I've talked to them several times. They don't know what they're doing themselves. One day, the chicken will come to roast. By dividing labor, they're not doing anybody's service. They're doing themselves. Because one day, government will hit on them, the division will be worse to them. I called Nigeria the other day. When there was protest of fuel last time, the government came to Lagos and met Nigeria. Nigeria had to force that protest in his own personal interest. And I cried over it. They said, Reverend, you're talking so much. The issue that we have all bought, but most of us who are not bought, we are tired. We'll be talking one thing or the other.
All right then. All right then, Reverend Dominic. Thank you very much for calling in. I've got to go on a break now. We'll come back and, raise that particular point. How it's in danger of all going to the dogs, God forbid. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Labor Day 2017, and we're looking at how corruption impacts labor negatively. The labor force in this country, I don't know, it's almost non-existent. Yes, there is a minister of labor and all of that, but the oppression of the ordinary Nigerian, from where we're going to take the army of workers, it's such that I don't know if look at the minimum wage, for instance. When you look at the minimum wage, which is not going to do anything, for example,
that doesn't take anyone home
at all, and then you look at what we saw happen in Ikoyi Gate, is it 48 million US dollars, that kind of a thing. It just goes to show you that this society of ours is not working well at all, and we can't, as of a fiat, come in and say none of this rubbish is going to go on beyond today. You can't do that. You have to go about it democratically. Meanwhile, the stealing continues. How are we coming out of this? Is it that we just have to go and just say to ourselves, it's going to take a long, long time?
No, we shouldn't resign to fate that way. That would be very defeatist. I think what we should rather do is that there must be collective voice of Nigerians against misgovernance, against non-accountability of those who are in government. It is by so doing we will get this country right. If you think that the politicians will fix Nigeria, individually or without the input of the people, then the Nigeria is in problem.
But the political leadership is it's not able to do.
They can't do that. They can't. What we have discovered, the political elite, what they do in Nigeria is that they are after self-interest, after themselves.
So that's a problem right there.
That's a problem.
Let me bring in Mr. Emmanuel, who is calling in from Benue State. Good morning, Mr. Emmanuel.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Thank you. This is my first time of calling.
Oh, we're so delighted to have you guys. First time callers. That's the second one.
All right. I want to disagree with your guest on two grounds.
Sure.
Nigeria is a country with over 160 million people. You cannot tell me that it's only one person, Magu, who can do the job better. There are other persons who are out there that can do the job even more better than Magu. So you cannot hold on to the fact that Magu is doing the job.
But Mr. Emmanuel, Mr. Manuel, I hear what you're saying, but it's the prerogative of the presidency to nominate, to put forward the nominee, not that of the National Assembly.
Yes, I know. But for him to say Magu is doing the job better.
Oh, okay. That is Barrister Obani. Okay.
Magu is better than Magu. That is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I get the point you're making. Is that it? Thank you very much for calling in. Okay. No, I don't think Onyekachi ever said that Magu is the only guy who can do a good job.
You know, he was using the word more better and all that, you know. That's not even a correct word. So I think it's better people listen. I didn't say that Magu is the only person that can do it more than 180 million Nigeria. I didn't say that. But I think that what the executive is saying is that we have confidence on this, our candidate. Yeah. And we have nominated him, and we feel that he can do the job. Yes. Now, the Legislative Assembly, I mean the Senate, is saying, look, we need to confirm this your candidate, and we have found him not to be suitable. Now, there is a conflict now when the same executive now is now relying on Section 171 of the Constitution, and then the Senate is now relying on a certain section of the EFCC Act. Yes. So there is now disagreement. And I'm saying that the way to resolve such impasse is to refer to an arm of government that does interpret the law and give a correct interpretation. Okay. Or that the executive is correct, yes, or that the Senate is correct. In that wise, there won't be any issue. That's how to grow our democracy, and that's also how to grow our jurisprudence. So we're not saying that Magu is the best thing that can happen to this country, but for so far, my dear brother, I should be wise enough. I'm old enough to know when somebody is working. When Dora Akunyili was working as NAFDAC, person, everyone saw it. And when Magu is now working, I'm from the East. It is I'm an Igbo man. Yes. Magu is not from my state, but I see him as somebody who is doing well, and for God's sake, I should be able to praise him. Okay, Mr. Joshua, make him the best.
Mr. Joshua calling in from Bida, Niger State. Good to have you.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Good morning,
Barrister Obani.
This very morning, I enjoy your program so much.
Oh, so kind of you.
And good morning to your panel.
Thank you.
The man on seat. I will advise, or I will suggest, that we need at least 37 Magus in this very country.
One for each state.
That will stand for each state of the Federation plus the Federal Capital Territory. Because the level of corruption in Nigeria is so alarming. Because only Magu cannot do this very job.
Okay. It's such a huge job.
You discover that these Magus will go to other states of the Federation and even the ministry.
Indeed.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua, for calling in, because we're looking at how, because the point for us in all of this is the negative way in which corruption is impacting our whole life. And in particular, Nigerian workers. They're getting the short end of the stick out of all of this. That's something that we don't immediately see. Of course, we'll come to it when we look far enough, but we don't immediately see that. The ordinary worker, the real base of the pyramid, the strength of the nation, is the person being pauperized and victimized by the pinnacle, the point at the pinnacle, it would appear, because that's where all the leadership is.
Yori, you and I are victims of corruption in Nigeria today. If you see where corruption has placed us as a nation, you weep for this nation. And that's why I'm in agreement with that young man who says we need more Magus. You see, all the ministries, all the states, all the local government, if you see the level of corruption...
Sorry, sir. What is a Magu? We're not talking about the person, the man, but the attitude of the man. The attitude, that attitude is Magu. I don't care. I don't need anything beyond my salary.
Beautiful.
You know, I can walk naked, metaphorically speaking.
We are not painting
That's
him,
the Magu we need.
We're not painting him as Jesus.
No,
we're not painting him as saint.
At all.
There has no fault in him.
At all.
He's a human being, and he's fallible.
But his attitude to the job.
We are saying the kind of, integrity, the kind of competence, and the kind of zeal he brought to bear in his work is the kind of attitude we want everyone to exhibit in his small domain. Wherever you find yourself, try to be a Nigerian, try to be patriotic, try to do the work that you are being paid for. Magu is displaying it, and we're happy with him.
And the Nigerian worker has slipped down the line because we're hearing complaints from the Nigerian worker because they're looking at the leadership. The Nigerian worker, by and large, is cutting work, not giving because they won't give him the salary. So the whole thing, the quality of the workforce is suspect.
Now let me
but Mr. Mohammed in Lagos Island wants to join the conversation. Good morning, Mr. Mohammed.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Okay. And on the issue of Magu, I think I welcome the idea of the presidency. Because our senator, I think it's time for them to be working with the mind of Nigeria too. They shouldn't apply their personal interest on the national interest.
All right.
They rejected Magu. The people, even the Nigerians, we that put them there, which we believe they are representing us. I say, okay, leave this man. Okay, this man is okay. We are not saying he's the best man to handle this post. But as for now, we think he's a man that can handle the issue of corruption in this country.
Yeah.
But they insist, believing that it is what they want, they will give to us. Then when it comes this way, the presidency has to also go into the constitution, find out that there's a way in which this man can be approved without the consent of the National Assembly, being that they are beginning to apply their personal interest in the appointment of the nominee. So therefore, I think what the presidency did is a good idea, and it's a perfect idea. We can see what Mr. Magu is doing now.
Yeah.
He's doing well. Why are you against this man?
All right, then.
Was it because it's after you?
Well, thank you very much. So it's about, because we're looking at the way corruption impacts even the labor force, and by extension, the country. Because what is a country without its labor force?
Now, what corruption has done is that you have your educational sector, totally collapsed. It totally collapsed. The health sector has already collapsed. The key infrastructure in the country, the energy, the power sector, the roads, and all the things that will make life worth living. And so, even if you are being given 200,000 naira today as a monthly salary, I'm saying this with every sense of responsibility, sir, it cannot in any way be enough for you because you have galloping inflation.
Yes, you remember what the labor wage is? Is it not in
18,000?
18,000?
And that's even for 50-something.
18,000.
I don't even know how 50-something thousand
is going to do anything.
Beautiful. You see that everyone today send his or her word, to private school. And you know how much you pay in all these private schools. When you have any medical issue that you go to general hospital, there are no drugs. They won't even pay attention to you, so you have to go to private hospital. And you know how much they charge. So you find out that even the money we are talking about is not there. So but what Labour should concentrate, sir, is to ensure that we eliminate corruption in the system, is to ensure that there is accountability in governance, is to ensure that basic infrastructures are fixed, to ensure that people that are supposed to do the work are elected into governance. These are areas we should begin to actually work on, but not necessarily on salary, because you get this salary,
Labour is not doing that anymore.
300,000 will not be enough for you in this country.
But Labour is doing a fine job on its own, but it's not doing all that you have suggested. The Labour of Imodu, for example,
of course,
the Labour
of this world.
The modus of this world. Why has that kind of labor, principled labor, selfless labor, become an extinct species?
Is it Kokori? What's the name of that one that, Pengasan, that was in Pengasan when Abacha was in power? What's his name?
That's him.
Frank that sacrificed his life for the nation.
No, he didn't die.
What I'm saying, he suffered so much injustice in the system.
Oh, yes. Mr. Idowu, calling in from Mushin, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Yori. Good morning, Barrister Obani.
My regards, sir.
You see, my problem with the Magu issue is this. The Senate himself, the President of the Senate, has a case at the
CCT.
Yes.
Code of Conduct Tribunal, yes.
Code of Conduct Tribunal. And he has never given it fit for a day to resign from that post as the President of the Senate. He is now alleging Magu that is not capable of holding the chairman of the EFCC. No, I don't know where we are going in this country. For a man that has a case that supports morally to settle. He refused. And now I can see another man that is doing a perfect job. Look at corruption. He has funded Nigeria. Look, what they are talking about the recovery money and so on. If you go to on the street, you will see how the corruption has funded Nigeria to. Nowhere anybody, even talking about education, if your student is going to school, they say there is a special center. Is it not corruption? Everywhere, please, I will advise the Senate to leave the man and let him work. We need a lot of Magu.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Because really, Magu coming in today is because we're looking at the impact of corruption on the labor force. Actually, you find that members of that labor force are, as it were, maybe some Nigerians will see them as actually dining with the enemy, meaning that those that are oppressing the ordinary worker through their conduct, through their acts of commission, and indeed their acts of omission, those are the people that labor today is seen hobnobbing with. It's a bit uncanny. You can't really understand it.
You can't explain it that even labor that has a political party, how many labor activists are trying to use that platform to actualize their political ambitions. Even the former president of Nigerian Labour Congress, and that is President Governor Oshomole.
So has Labour lost its own confidence in itself?
Of course they have. Now they are even more disunited. Of course, you know there are two factions. They are not even speaking with one voice. And so government is taking undue advantage of this. Recently, there was a panel that was set up to look at the issue of harmonizing the minimum wage. And that's over 2 years now.
That's right.
That panel has been sitting. We have not heard any report. Exactly. So what is going on actually? Because they are disunited. They are not together. So I think that Labour also has an issue. They have to settle. The house is not in order. At all. And so when your house is not in order, you cannot fight for that people.
But right now we're busy begging Labour. Over in Oyo State this morning, I was reading Yomi Layinka's statement on behalf of the government that, hold tight, guys. 4 months' salary that we are owing you will be paid shortly. But meanwhile, double up, buckle up, and contribute your part. That's what Labour is being told.
So you are telling somebody who has worked for 4 months that he should hold on.
But the governor says we feel their pain. But the governor has said we feel your pain. Stay with us, please. We'll take another quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So how does corruption impact labor, or the ways in which it does? Those are the kind of things that we're looking at. Today is Labor Day, celebrated around the world, not in every country of the world, but by and large, May Day is Labor Day. And so there are going to be speeches at stadia up and down the land, statements, marching, and all of that is in order because there ought to be those things. But the way we were yesterday and the way we are today, that all those speeches by governors are going on and march past, I don't know if anything is going to really change tomorrow when we all go back to our different businesses. And by the way, I don't know how the labor is managing, Onyekachi. 18,000 naira, you've just said it doesn't do anything at all. But labor is managing, the labor force is managing one way or the other. How we do it, I don't know.
That's why some tourists may like to come to this country. And one of the ways they will enjoy Nigeria is to find out how Nigerian workers can go along without 7 months' salary in some states, sir. Some 9 months. Now you just mentioned 4 months.
Your state is very small, only 4 months.
My own state.
Besides, the governor feels their pain.
Yes, I know in Abia at last year, at April, some people since last year April are still being owed salary. So we need to study these Nigerian workers and know how they are surviving. Yeah, honestly, it's something that of interest for tourists. For tourists coming in from the country. Let's know how the Nigerian workers survive without salary for 4 months, 5 months.
Good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
And good morning to Mr. Bani.
How are you, my brother?
Uncle Yori, Reverend Dominic has said some of the things I wanted to say. But there is need to clarify an issue.
Okay.
Mr. Magu had already investigated most of these senators before his name came up for confirmation. In fact, many of the senators are already in court. And his name had been forwarded to the Senate. He spent 5 months in the Senate before the consideration was made. That needs to be known.
Okay.
So it's not because there
was a delay.
There was a delay, and it gave them opportunity to launch an attack. No, that wasn't the case. And then Mr. Bani talked about approbating and reprobating. It's a case of when somebody has been pushed to the wall. You have tried this, you have tried that, and it's not working. You have to look for a way out. The executive only had to remember to go back to the Constitution when it became clear that this Senate was not ready to confirm somebody that they know can do the job.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they went back to the Constitution, and even though I'm not a lawyer, I'm aware that when there is a conflict between the Constitution and any rules governing anybody in this country, the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution will be superior. If that is what the Senate wants to go and find out from the Supreme Court, let them do that. But I think it is all based on fear. Fear in the sense that, oh, this man is not going to play ball with us.
Exactly.
And most of us have something to hide. Let's make sure he doesn't come in. That is what is at play. The Labour, I'm afraid, they have lost their relevance. Uncle Yori, have you noticed that throughout these revelations of, massive discoveries of loot inside people's homes, nobody in the labor industry has come out to say this is wrong. And they are asking for more pay.
Yeah.
Yes, 18,000 has not been paid. For some states are owing 12 months, 10 months. They have not received that one. And they are asking for more. It doesn't really make sense to me. What Mr. Bani said seems to be the better solution. Let them be asking for services. Let them be asking for things to work, not the physical money. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, because that's, you see, it seems to me that what the National Assembly would want is a more pliant, individual
who will not be hard on them.
Exactly.
So that's what they want. But Nigerians think otherwise.
Indeed.
But let me tell you
and besides,
yes.
the most common kind of thing, kind of logic you can bring to this, is that Magu already has experience. Yes. Nobody is saying that it is only Magu that can do this job. Yes. But no, you want someone else, that one is going to start finding out the ropes.
Yes,
no.
The unexamined life is not worth living. And that is, I think, other Socrates that said it. I think at this juncture, my advice to the Senate is for them to sit back and examine the role they are playing in Nigerian polity. Whether they have become a cog in the wheel, there are many bills I understand today that is before them, that this money laundering prevention and all that, bill that is before, the whistleblowing policy, this thing is before them. The issue of having a special court that will try corrupt cases, before them, but they have not touched all this. What they are doing most times is provoking. So let them sit back and say, are we really, advancing this democracy?
Well,
are we helping this government to actualize all the promises they made when they went all over the country, with all the beautiful speeches they made? Are they not having that moral burden? That is, I just want them today to sit back and say, are we becoming a cog? Are we becoming a wheel of progress? Are we becoming a cog in the wheel?
Interrogate themselves.
Unexamined life is not worth living. So,
Banker calling in from Berger. Good morning.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
I'm so happy. It's my first time calling.
Today is a day for first-time callers. We're glad to have you.
You know what? My point, I want it to be as succinct as possible. You know what? From the angle at which I'm looking at it, now, we know all the problems we are having. Everybody knows the number one problem of Nigeria is corruption. And everybody should be so keen to understand the intrigues of what is happening. Now we know the corruption can never be fought, because this is a democratic setting. There is nobody that can even fight the corruption problem with impunity. And from the inception, Buhari, or let me say President Buhari, has made some points that are making these fights impossible to fight. Number one, you can imagine the president of the country saying he has no interest in the leadership of the National Assembly. Number one. Number two, the same president has made some points that made these people, that really empowered these people subtly. He really empowered them. And many people are of the opinion that it is the underlying point of tribalism that made him do those things, which he never knew they are going to haunt him at the end of the day. Now, these people are at the end of affairs. Everybody knows they are at the end of affairs. And let's give it to him. He really wants to fight the corruption, but he has lost it from the beginning. He has a good intention, but he has lost it. I know, everybody knows he has lost it. Even Barrister Ubani may not want to say it as clear as that over there. But he has empowered these people, and they are there. And I'm telling you, we are halfway into the regime now. I'm afraid.
Okay, Banke, thank you very much for your call. But we've lost the battle against corruption. I think it's too early.
It's too early to judge.
Far too early.
I don't agree with him totally. You know, there are mistakes.
Mistakes were made.
There are imperfections.
Yes.
And why? Because it's a fallible institution. It's a fallible institution. It's a human institution.
Indeed.
And it's subject to fallibility. But the most important thing is the zeal and the intention to continue with this fight. We must not be discouraged.
And our commitment to this fight.
Yes, we must all. And let me tell you, there is no way you can succeed in this fight without the people. And that is why I am so much in love with the whistleblowing policy. Now, look at how much we realized when there was no whistleblowing policy. Immediately it came in. Even today, it was reported recently, but not, that somebody came and parked his 3 cars, including BMWs, that are stashed with money, and say, I want to go and urinate and run away. Because the money is not running. They are afraid of money, keeping money now. Because is it the house girl? Is it the cook? The cook must know now. The house girl must know. Or somebody in your neighborhood will know when you are bringing this money. So there is no safe place now for them. And that's why they are burying them now in the mortuary, cemeteries and all that. So my take is that the people must be involved in this fight. Let everyone believe that we must get this country right. Because what we are suffering today is corruption. Corruption has retarded our growth.
Indeed.
Our human indicators and indices have shown that we are making no progress. And so the only way to get ourselves once again back as a people is to fight corruption.
Indeed.
And everyone must be involved, sir.
Everyone must be involved. And that's an excellent place to leave it, because we've run out of time. Labor cannot be enhanced if corruption is still holding sway. And so the battle against corruption must continue. Any which way it can, it must continue. And we can't, as Banke said, fall into the mindset of, we've lost it already. No, there's still hope. Keep hope alive. That's our program. Thank you very, very much for watching. And thank you very much, Barrister Onyeka Jiobani, for coming on.
Thank you.
Bye-bye for now. I'm Yori Folari.